Ooh, RNG have taken this gambit before. They did it actually in the, I think the FPX series. They decided, like, they lost game 1, so they went back onto, they kind of like swapped up the side selection. Oh, it was their IG series, it was game 2. Anyway, we've got a draft here. I think the Kindred ban for NIP, they know. I was wondering whether or not we were going to get that from Milky Way. You know, give them one game at least, but they don't want to take any chances. They want to close this out on a 9-1 record.
Still definitely a lot of good options here for Milky Way, as it seems like so far in this series, being on red side means that you have to ban away the Skarner and the Cassante, so a little bit less flexibility here for RNG, but maybe they want somebody like Tangyuan on a better matchup. It's going to be Aki on the Viego to start things off, though, for NIP.
Big priority with Varus still up. I figured that was going to be the case. RNG, I think you need to be looking towards your bottom lane. I want to really... Oh, you're right, Varus is banned. I want to see a prioritization towards JiaQi, make sure that we're getting him a comfortable matchup, and the Aphelios, one of his most played, so I think we're getting a lot of comfort champions across the board. Jax for Xiaoxu, one of his most played. Shanji's Viego is definitely very potent.
It seems like comfort for our RNG in what could be their last game of their first split. Try to make sure that they're all on something that they know how to play, that they are very good at. You know, JiaQi whipped this Aphelios out earlier in the group stage against FPX and came away with a win. Speaking of comfort, though, that's Shanji on the Udyr and then Doinby on his signature rise. We saw him with some pretty good plays on it last time around, and we'll see what he looks like this time.
RNG need to get some tank busters now, because you think about how resilient NIP are going to be. You think of this Rise, you have access to Tier, the Frozen Heart. If he has access to things like Rod of Ages, he's going to have so much HP. Udyr's also going to be very, very difficult to deal with. So if you're not able to get this Aphelios to be a 1v9 machine, then what I need to see from RNG is going to be a lot more tanks, because even as the game goes on, Jax can skirmish with this Udyr. It's just going to be a bit difficult, especially with how annoying Udyr can be. Udyr can just walk up, clear the wave, and run away from this Jax.
Need some AP threat as well. I think maybe something like a, you know, hate to go back to the AP junglers here for Milky Way, but something like a Lilia could do a good job here, I think, in this matchup as we head into the second phase of bans. Galio taken away here from Tangyuan, as looks like they are worried about maybe some of the beefier presences that can come on RNG side.
Trying to think of 80 mids that Tangyuan would want to play. He played the Corki in game 1. We still have Tristana and some of the marksmen, but that has been, I think, falling to the wayside. Maybe this is Tangyuan's Smolder game, right? Like, he already played it once, and we saw it banned earlier in game 2. I think that if you're going to be trying to match scaling for scaling, you have to be willing to look for some of these. And while I like the shout from NIP, I think you might have to just be worried about what Milky Way is going to get done here in this game.
I'd imagine at this point a mid lane pickup here for Tangyuan makes sense, unless they decide to flex some things around or get creative here. That's the Mundo Hover. Don't know if that's actually going to get locked in. Nope, it looks like going to be opting for Tangyuan Azir to go up against the Doinby Rise. That is a lot of damage, and we'll give Milky Way last pick on R5.
Okay. What is the pick here for NIP? When we look at what Leave has been playing, we already have the Misfortune and the Kaisa games out of the way. Has opted for the Jhin, but is another champion that is gone thanks to our Fearless system. We're getting the Ezreal Karma. Really dangerous 2v2 to play for Aphelios and Thresh. Thresh not a champion that has a lot of resistances early, and while Thresh does provide some of those ability to kind of stop someone like Shanji or Aki getting onto your backline, This NIP comp can play at a pretty decent range, and they have just enough frontline that I don't know if RNG can really bust through that. They have this Azir and this Aphelios. We'll see what they'll be able to get done here in this game as RNG are facing down elimination.
It's going to be the Sejuani coming through here for Milky Way, so more tankiness on this side. Front to back here for RNG does look very solid. You have two very great backline carries with the Aphelios and the Azir. Also, though, the presence of the ability to side lane here with Xiaoxu on this Jax. On the other side for NIP, the one worry I have for them, not a ton of primary engage. You're looking a lot at RNG trying to force plays themselves, and then you as NIP looking to, you know, find a disengage or a counter response to that.
NIP are really strong on 2 items, and while RNG have individual spikes on 1 and 2, I think we're really looking at this team being able to hit that 3-item core. If you can make it to that point in the game around 30 minutes, then maybe we can start to see this team rock up. I'm just worried about playing an early game versus NIP. Obviously, they haven't been bulletproof, but we haven't seen RNG be able to kind of stick the landing in the 10 to 15 minute mark of the game. So it's a bit worrisome, especially with in-game trends. I don't know if they'll be able to make the bounce back between 2 pretty disappointing losses here.
Definitely not ideal for RNG, as they would need to pull off a reverse sweep in order to keep their playoff hopes alive, and even then, things remain rather difficult for them, all things considered. They would need to get, I think, a little bit of help in terms of the game differential for IG in their matchup later this week, but it all starts here. They control a little bit of their own destiny. They just need to continue to win these games to have any sort of chance, as we are getting ready to enter the Rift for Game 3.
Tough spot. RNG, like we've been saying throughout the show, still can make playoffs. Destiny would just simply be out of their hands, would be up to FPX to take a massive upset against IG later on this week, as we see these 2 teams take to the Rift. JiaQi, throw up the emote. You already know you're not allowed to walk in that brush. Don't think we're going to be seeing too many early summoner spells, and kind of a soft engage here, as I was going to say maybe we're going to see the Ignite coming out from our bottom lanes, but this is a pretty big differential in my opinion. Cleanse and Heal for Leave and ppgod, Ghost and Ignite for JiaQi and neny. Even canceling the recall there. I think if they ever get into a 2v2 situation, I think I really would prefer Leave and ppgod.
Especially with that cleanse to get away from something like the death sentence, or even a stun coming through from milkyway if he decides to make his way down here as well. A lot of safety overall here for NIP. I think is the name of the game. Even though RNG have good engaged threats like the Sejuani, the Thresh, and the Azir, it seems like NIP's peel is going to be really, really good. They're going to be able and willing to play these fights very slow, poke out some of your opponents with this Ezreal Karma lane, and just strike when the opportunity is right. We're going to get a lane swap, actually. It's RNG initiating this one with Xiaoxu starting on the bottom side. So they even are worried about, neny and JiaQi in this 2v2.
And that's kind of just how it's going to be, unfortunately. They wanted to avoid the 2v2 matchup, and I will say, Udyr is one of the most resilient in lane swap. He's obviously have gotten some changes since last year, but this was one of the original lane swap champions, right? When it was K'Sante, Udyr every single game. These were the champions you kind of relied on to be solid enough laners that couldn't be found in a 2v2. Thresh and Aphelios can have some early damage. My worry is that there is an angle if there's a bad trade or if Shanji's able to kind of get onto his opponent, that you can take a pretty decent trade up against Aphelios if he's by himself. So neny's not going to have as much time to play, as we're making a play on the mid. There's already 4 people mid, man.
Aki very quickly level 3 and headed towards the mid lane. milkyway joining as well. neny's going to be the first other player here as he lands the flash play onto Aki, who is ticking down with the Ignite. Death Sentence is dashed away from by the Spectral Maw, and that means nobody will go down, but that is a couple of summoner spells burned on NIP's main carry. That's the damage from Shanji's Udyr that you were talking about, though, here, Alk, and that forces JiaQi to burn the Ghost.
If Shanji had Ghost, I think maybe he kind of goes band for band with Aphelios and starts running at him, but already missing out on a summoner spell, so weren't able to find all that much. It's just the flash from Aki, like you were saying, and does mean that Doinby is forced to recall. Had to burn all of his mana. That is one of the problems with trying to skirmish with Ryze early. He kind of just deletes his mana bar in the process, and without teleport, does mean that anytime Tangyuan has an ability to make a massive lane shove, he will be able to either match on the opposite side of the map or even move a little bit closer to pushing Doinby off of the lane.
Shanji doing a good job at staying alive and gathering XP. Level 3 still up. Has a wave and a half here. The question is, can he survive a potential dive? As right now, it is NIP getting the better end of this lane swap just because of the plates that Leave and ppgod are able to get with the lowered resistances on that bottom lane turret. Death Sentence goes wide. That is already going to be almost 2 plates. They are unable to barely get that one, but they'll get it soon enough here.
Yeah, whoa. Leave. Throwing that Q, brother. Almost hit me back here in my own home here in the PNW. Bit of a far ways to travel for an Ezreal Q, but already seeing some of the effects, like you were saying. Getting the 2 plates for this bottom lane is expected, especially coming out from the lane swap. We'll see what both of these teams decide to do. We've got Dragon spawning in 30, a minute and a half before Grubs, and what I'm kind of looking at here is NIP obviously want to be able to scale. They'll have a really big spike on one item, and it's up to RNG as to whether or not they opt into these fights. They have a lot of game-changing ultimates, but I think the itemization might be a bit of in a wacky spot. And I actually, hopefully we get to check in on this. I don't think we will, just because it's usually something we need in depth for Aphelios, as to what we're getting the maxing for, because I think this might be a game where you forego attack speed on Aphelios and you actually go for the lethality early option, which gives you a lot of upfront damage and maybe allows for them to trade a little bit differently versus leaving ppgod.
Just took a look. Most of the points are in W right now, so he's maxing that first.
No! Why does he have attack speed? He's gonna hit Shanji 1 million times and do 0 damage. It's okay. Maybe, look, JiaQi has proven us wrong before. He doesn't have a lethal tempo. He does actually have the fleet footwork, which, while nerfed for range champions, I think still provides a lot of utility, especially with the movement speed. So just worried for him in general. He has a lot of tanky boys to deal with as the game goes on.
Speaking of worried, I think Xiaoxu should be that at this point with the big wave crashing into the top side. You see Aki on the Viego making his way up here as well. Xiaoxu still not level 6 and won't be able to get it on the completion of this wave. Spectrum Ball comes out, lands a stun. But it looks like NIP don't want to go too far in for this dive, knowing that, of course, Niket is on the way. That allows for milkyway to take the dragon on the other side of the map.
Aki's going to start up these grubs, but with RNG getting pushed in mid, I think it's very easy, actually, for them to maybe contest for this objective. They're just looking for something onto Doinby, get his flash, and they can continue to move over towards these grubs. They don't even have to get the entirety of the camp. They're actually going to pull off of this and try to make a play onto bottom side. They don't have to kill Shanji. All they have to do is just make sure JiaQi gets gold.
Yeah, looks like instead of trying to flip the grubs in one way or the other, they're going to give that up, try to find plays on the other side. You burn Doinby's flash. You also are going to be able to take camps away on the bottom side, but now Xiaoxu might be in trouble once again as Aki, once again, making his way up here.
Look at this, making plays on opposite sides of the map. Doinby can catch this wave and even go bottom lane if they go a little too deep. That's what I think I love as part of this Rise pick. We've been seeing Doinby really maximize the ability to play the lane and play the map with game-changing ultimates like Pantheon from Game 2. But, oh, we're getting the Rise ultimate. They're making the dive on the top side. It's a single plate left here.
There's no minions, though. It's going to tank tower aggro pretty immediately. There comes the Heartbreaker, and that's first blood here for Leave. Really nicely done by NIP. They send Doinby up, and they get the first kill.
And they'll even get the first turret here. I mean, they've got 3 grubs. I don't think RNG can move this Udyr out of the wave, so NIP continue with more dominant early games. Now Leave has a massive advantage over his opponents. He's going to be able to recall and get most parts of a Trinity Force already online. 1,000 gold over his opponent in JiaQi. We've got no objectives for the next 3 minutes, so Trinity Force spike, I think, for Leave is going to be coming a lot sooner than his opponents expect.
Yeah, it was RNG who initiated a lane swap, and they're the ones well worse off because of it. Is leaving ppgod have been able to get so many plates. They got 2 on the bottom side, then all 5 up top lane, including that first turret. So
it's 8 minutes, man.
Very, very well. Yeah, and he still has way more time to get more.
Potentially going for, I mean, they can get 3 here. Yeah, it'll be JiaQi with level 6, Niket as well coming down towards the bottom lane, but I kind of want to see RNG play towards sides, get this Ezreal. It's hard to deal with him. Ezreal is notoriously a very slippery champion, but you need to be able to force something like a cleanse, maybe his flash early on, because otherwise you're just allowing this team to scale up. And what we wanted to see from RNG is play for some of these early objectives, be able to make flips with this Azir and Thresh, and that has not come to fruition for this team so far, 8.5 minutes in.
The only really thing that they've gotten so far is that first dragon, which does help a little bit in terms of trying to deny things like an early soul for NIP, but all things considered, they'd rather have
there we go.
Some kills. Which, speaking of, they might try to find one here. On to ppgod. ppgod a little bit too far forward here. The Emperor's Divide not actually doing the deed, as Niket is the one to secure the kill, but it is still a kill nonetheless, and RNG will be happy enough with that.
It's unfortunate, but does buy a little bit of time again. There's not much on the map. What I would want to see here from RNG is taking control of bottom side vision. You already see that neny is hovering towards his AD carry, but had already gotten some vision down near the mid lane. milkyway is going to be clearing down after this. He will get spotted on a ward, and while Viego is here and spotted, don't know how much NIP's jungler is going to be able to get done in this situation. Xiaoxu has to be careful because with this turret down behind him, he always has to be worried of potentially Doinby being able to walk on over if they lose mid control.
Looks like he's not doing too well right now. Just 28 CS, definitely got the bad end of things in terms of the lane swap. So Shanji's having his way up in the top side right now. Looks like milkyway there to at least alleviate some of that pressure, but right now it is all ninjas and pajamas here in game number 3. They're up almost 2,000 gold at the 10-minute mark.
milkyway, this might be another game where you have to abandon some of your camps. Last game, it was out of your control. The camps were not abandoned by you. The camps were forcibly conquered by your opponents. This time, however, I think top lane camps might be a bit more difficult to grab. I think you are looking at a full respawn and reset of Gromp and Wolves. That seems like your appetite for the near future.
On a diet a little bit here this game, and maybe the last one as well. As instead of going for the camps, looks like milkyway just running straight down top lane to try to pull off a bit of a lane gank of sorts. Is spotted out by the control ward though.
Oh no!
And that is bad news for RNG. As Aki also starting up this second spawn of Grubs.
Look at Leave, man!
Rather quick. Leave going very far forward. Could be in trouble though, as JiaQi has the red and the white guns. Throws out the Moonlight Vigil, heals himself up rather admirably, and with the Ghost Pop, will try to chase down the rest of the NIP bottom lane and gain a little bit of more pressure, but they will be unable to pick up a kill in the 2v2.
Leave was peppering them. The bot lane looked so potent for them to potentially look for a kill, but it's 6 Grubs going over to NIP. They're going to start up this dragon now. Tangyuan is leaning towards his team. ppgod on vision, however.
Ooh. Glacier Prison goes very, very wide here, and here comes Doinby with that Realm Warp,
no.
and the Rise Ultimate does wonders here for NIP. JiaQi not able to finish off the kill on the ppgod. That is a 2-0 in favor of NIP as they pick up the full feats of strength.
They thought, hey, maybe we could play for this dragon, but they get immediately collapsed upon. Who needs teleport when you got a Realm Warp that can do just the same thing? NIP, like you said, grab kills, grab themselves feats of strength at 11 minutes. And it's hard to see this game going anywhere but poorly for RNG from this point. As, like, how do you ever get into this spot, man? Like, you can't actually stop NIP from doing anything against this. Like, you had to flash immediately, maybe get under your turret, but you're not getting anything from top side. Tangyuan was not able to actually stop them in mid, so maybe you could have seen Tangyuan swoop in and use the ultimate to stop the Realm Warper in the first place, but I don't know. I think this is a tough game to play. Yeah,
gonna have to try to find some sort of plays and maybe punish some aggression that NIP is throwing out, but that's not even gonna happen here as Lele and ppgod dominating so far here in the mid lane. JiaQi goes down, and now the mid lane is the next target in terms of picking up some more plays.
The objective for RNG was to get to 2 and 3 items comfortably. I don't know if they're going to be able to get to 2 and 3. I don't even know if they're going to really be able to get to 2 items. It's Collector almost done here for JiaQi as Lele almost finds the kill, just barely misses out on some skill shots onto neny, but items are already being completed here for Ninjas and Pyjamas. Trinity Force is done. The Muramanas are getting stacked at this point. Doinby's already finished his Rod of Ages and is getting stacks at 13 minutes. It kind of puts you on that timer immediately, and you're not able to secure any of the grubs. Only 1 dragon to your name. It feels like RNG are just having to pick up scraps here as NIP, like we said from game 2, leading them around the map and what they can do.
milkyway still getting bullied in his own jungle seemingly. Has the heart steal, but that's about it. Not doing enough damage definitely as a Sejuani against Aki, but maybe with the rest of his team he can. Throws out that Glacial Prison, followed up by the Death Sentence. Aki's able to dash away for now, but the Moonlight Vigil will eventually take him down as RNG pick up a shutdown onto their AD carry. Is JiaQi picking up 450 gold, and the blue buff finally going their way.
All right, there's the NIP mid-game death. Aki gets picked out yet again. They try to make an invade. He gets caught, and it will slow down NIP's ability to actually terrorize the rest of the map, but honestly, at this point, what we're looking from RNG is how can they stabilize. Xiaoxu, despite the early game deficit, is slowly starting to pick it back up, and maybe with a visit from milkyway.
Oh, nice flash to match Shanji here. Lands stun as well. Shanji could be in some trouble, but does have a lot of movement speed. Finally, will get jumped on top of and taken down by milkyway.
Tangyuan, run!
In. That is 2 members. Really nice job by Tangyuan, though, to use that Emperor's Divide to force the rest of NIP away, but will still be in big danger here as this turret is now under threat. The Ket will join him, and looks like the Azir will live.
And in that small passage of time, RNG have been able to slow down the game. They find the pick onto Aki. Then Shanji gets picked out with milkyway and Xiaoxu. They try to make a play on the bottom side. Doesn't end up working. It's going to turn into the flash from milkyway and the TP from Tangyuan. But I think when you're this far behind right now, it's as good as it's going to get for your team. And that's what we want to see if RNG want any chance of being able to come back in this game and in this series. We've got Herald spawning in a minute's time, Dragon in 3, but I just look at inventories right now and it doesn't get much better for RNG. So are they going to try to attempt to continue split pushing, get their items, focus on grabbing gold, or do they really want to try to leverage some of the strong team fighting they can have? I think it's a bit difficult when you're missing some key ultimates like Tangyuan's ult.
Yeah, you see Tangyuan actually the one to match Shanji right now in the side lane, because Xiaoxu right now completely outmatched by the Udyr in this situation. So looks like for now it's going to just be getting closer to that 2-item spike that you talked about. Aki spotted out by Xiaoxu in the enemy jungle as JiaQi uses a little bit of his HP to try to push Lele and ppgod away from this mid lane tier 1. It'll eventually fall, but JiaQi is holding on to that for his dear life. And
for a team that's had 6 scrubs, this mid-tier one's been up for quite a bit.
That's
so
true.
Respect to JiaQi and Niket, the rest of RNG, for being able to hold this. This feels like, hey, don't be saying thank you, Shanji, for all your work on this top tier 2. Me and Aki will be taking this, so thank you for all you did with our 6 scrubs.
And will get taken down finally in conjunction with that mid lane tier 1. So suddenly the gold jumping up in favor of NIP. 3.5, almost 4,000 now is the deficit.
They're going to start up this Herald as well, so 6 scrubs plus Herald I think is almost a death sentence in its entirety by itself for RNG. Is they are just barely getting items. And for milkyway, starting up on this Heartsteel is great. I don't think we're getting very many stacks this game. You know, there's 2
so
melees on the enemy teams, and unless Leve is going to just be gifting you a free Heartsteel proc, I think it's a bit tough. Let's see if they can make this play on the bottom side. JiaQi is on his way. Niket and Milky Way are in position.
Yeah, look at Doinby though. He has that ultimate available and will be able to join the fray if Shanji goes under threat. And I think RNG might have figured that one out a little bit too late. That sentence does connect. They're going to try to burst Shanji down, but he's a very tanky Udyr. JiaQi will pick up the kill. And it looks like that will be all she wrote here for this play. RNG able to escape successfully. And it looks like Doinby actually did not have that Realm Warp available, so would not have been a play regardless.
Yeah. Hey, look, RNG making good, bro. This is exactly the kind of some of the sentiments that we had for RNG, was their ability to play the map, right? Was, hey, we're gonna pull you to a side lane. We're gonna have that a roster that, with the inclusion of Doinby, has really shot up in the rankings super fast, out of nowhere. And we're back into the game. Thank you, folks. Thank you to everybody on production for being able to get us through that pause very quickly. No chrono breaks for now. Fingers crossed as we come back and Xiaoxu's able to take a top tier 1. Maybe we'll see what this bot lane play has in store, as Aki is still waiting with a Rift Herald, and they're moving on over.
Ooh, the Rune Prison lands here onto Josh. He's already down to 40% HP, right into the arms of Aki, who is able to lock him down in Doinby with the Realm Warp. Picks up the kill onto the RNG 80 carry. Joshi did all that he could to try to escape, but could not get away from NIP. They get the 1 kill. They also proc this Rift Herald and send it right down to Crash in to pick up their 4th tower.
6 grubs, the Rift Herald. They've got another wave coming on this bottom lane. Aki can just do the dragon this entire time. Glad we got all the RNG stuff during the break, because that gave us time to set them up to come right back to live, and they're just getting smashed on the map. Doinby there kind of weaves the spell flux and the overload right in between the lines and is able to find JiaQi, gets the flash as well from this Aphelios. So as all of the goodwill we've been spreading for Royal Never Give Up, it's still tough. You look at those gold leads, and I mean, Leve almost 2,000 up. He's going to be finishing Muramana here. that's going to be a massive spike for the Ninjas in Pyjamas.
Yeah, it's all about trying to slow things down for RNG, but things got accelerated a little bit off of that play as we're once again back to a gold lead of over 4K for NIP. And 2 items now finally have been unlocked here for Tangyuan, who has been farming very nicely with that Riftmaker and Leandry, so we'll be doing a lot of burn damage. JiaQi getting closer and closer to that as well. But we're starting to get to a point here, Alk, where despite the 2 item spikes for the carries of RNG, the wallet diff might be a little bit too much on the other side.
Yeah. And even look at the items, man. Like, Seraph's completed for Doing B. At least it's not Fimbulwinter, okay? I'll take it.
I know. I was kind of expecting that, not gonna lie.
I'm excited about that one. Aki is playing around Vision in a really creative way, using the Otacon walls that are located in bottom lane. But we're getting those similar kind of lane allocations. Shanji pushing in on the top wave, has teleport, as does Xiaoxu. And maybe a fight here around the dragon. They are pushing RNG out of this area. Whoa!
Both the Q and the Death Sentence go wide here. Tangyuan using the Emperor's Divide to try to escape, but a nice buffer from Aki escapes the crowd control itself. Niket on the menu here for NIP, and will get taken down by the Mystic Shot of Leave.
I just don't even think it matters at this point. They'll take Otacon. Shanji pushed him all the way up to his inhibitor turret and is like, yeah, I may have 6 grubs, but I think we're just going to be playing for mid. Oh, I think JiaQi's in a big trouble here. He has Ghost, but no Flash. And he's trying to push on this mid wave. We're going to get TP from Tangyuan to protect his AD carry.
Yeah, Shanji doesn't have enough damage at this point just yet, and with Tangyuan joining, it looks like Shanji just here to try to catch this wave and prevent this tower from going down. She should be able to do so successfully, while the Otacon is secured on the other side. So that is revives for all of NIP. They'll head back to base and look to really break open the base this time.
Next 2.5 minutes, so dangerous, and I want to see how NIP close this out. We have some time here, Grapes. You said that Shanji doesn't have enough damage, but I see there's a completed item in the enemy top laner who is a tank, and that just means that, similar to Aurelia, he has hit his item spike. This guy will run you down. Base damage on Udyr is insane. As someone who has gotten ran down by Udyr, and I'm sure many of the people in chat can attest to this, as an 80 carry player, that guy could have boots and like garage sale items, and he probably still 1v1s you. Tiger Stance is a hell of a drug.
The Udyr base damage is strong, I'll give you that. And with the Unending Spare in his inventory, very shortly, it'll add to that as well. See some counter jungling going on here just some taking of the blue buff, I should say, for NIP. They were on red side the last 2 games. I'm getting myself confused. They're up almost 6,000 gold. 20 minutes into this game, and they continue to do so much on the siege with all 6 of the grubs in their hands. RNG are going to have to make a move sooner rather than later if they don't want their base to just crumble before their eyes, even before the Baron spawns.
All of their engage is predicated on landing a Sejuani ult or a Thresh Hook from Niket. When that's gone, it's tough, and it's not even like it's dedicated, right? Like, it's not a point and click. It's, in my eyes, a bit of fake CC, because typically when people see Sejuani, it's like, oh, I'll just Sejuani ult the backline. How often does Sejuani actually find the space to get that? Not often. And there's still the Otacon respawns here for NIP, so any pick that RNG get is merely just going to delay the Ninjas in Pyjamas by about 15 seconds. Cool. Great job.
Shanji just ignoring Xiaoxu's damage as well and just hitting the tower for as long as possible. We'll have to try to run away from JiaQi now, who has arrived at the bottom lane. But
we're realm
the rest
warping.
of NIP in with the realm warp. That's the true shot barrage, taking down JiaQi. Xiaoxu will go down as well. It's a double kill for Leave, as they might even be looking for more here on this play. Aki with the stolen vehicle.
Oh my god, Leave!
Not able to find it. Leave still weaving in autos and the Mystic Shots. He goes way far forward and is able to pick up the kill onto Niket before respawning back in his own fountain. That is 3 kills for NIP. They're also going to get the bot lane inhibitor, and they are running away here with this game number 3.
Unofficial triple kill there for Leaf. He plays with 0 fear in his heart. He's like, hey, I'm playing Ezreal. I've got a free revive. Let me shift forward, brother. They pushed off onto the top wave, and after that, great use of the Realm Warp. That's so funny. Leave Arcane shifts backwards. He lands Q, then ult, lands another Q, and he has another shift already ready. And I love how aggressively he plays this, putting pressure onto Tangyuan so he cannot defend his turret. And it is one last... Oh, it's an auto with red buff that takes down Niket there. So Great stuff from the NIP AD carry, and this is, I think, the level that we should be expecting for NIP to be playing for most of the rest of the season. And, I mean, you have Doinby, who seems like he's on form, and Leaf, who's playing like this. I think this is why I feel so confident to say they feel like a top 4 team here in the region.
And they're looking poised to be one of the top 4 seeds in the LPL. With a win here, would put them to the top of Group D and give themselves a spot in double elimination, as they are looking very dominant right now. Picking up that Mountain Soul point, almost a 10,000 gold lead, and they don't even have the Baron just yet. You assume that'll be their next topic, or their next target on cooldown, as they go for some more resets right now. Leave at 3 items right now, 7-0-1 on the Ezreal.
And upgraded boots, upgraded Lucidity boots as well. An insane amount of stats already given to him, and now he gets bonus movement speed. Like, just the game does not get easier here as Doinby on a side lane. milkyway, I don't think you actually deal damage to this guy. I think you walk up, you proc your Heartsteel, and you skedaddle. You're not doing any. What are we waiting for? There's no Otacon to play. Maybe they're going to try and sneak a Baron.
Yeah.
It's tough, but, I mean, how does he get into the pit here? There's so much vision, and even this Baron actually opens up the pit a little bit, maybe changes some of the vision lines. So he'll move past this minion wave. He knows that his vision's getting cleared out as well. Bot lane's walking up. Tangyuan is still pushing on a side lane. Almost going to be level 16 on Azir. Maybe they can turn here.
It's a solo mission here for milkyway. He's going to try to steal this one away, it seems like.
Oh my god, leave!
Leave! Shifts over the pit to just push the RNG jungler away. He is not able to get into the pit, and it will be secured easily by Ninjas in Pyjamas, and they can try to win this fight on the other side as well. Niket on the run will land the death sentence in on the Shanji. JiaQi flashing over the wall, trying to find the Aphelios, and will get the kill, and the reset city will begin. It's going to be a clean ace in for NIP. They get 4 kills with just Tangyuan, who was not even at the fight, the last remaining survivor here for Royal.
Leaf has just been shifting forward. He does not care about what the opponents. He fears them not. As teleports through mid, but we've got a top wave to end on. We've got Baron and 6 grubs. NIP are going to 3-0 RNG here, barring a miracle from Tangyuan.
He doesn't have a kill just yet. Going back to base to try to defend. It looks like it'll just be the inhibitor that NIP want. They're going to play this out the smart way, at least for now, as a wave is crashing mid. They should be able to pick up all 3 of these inhibs without too much trouble. They're actually, so far, taking the tower with just the Void Mites helping them out here. As they take down the inhibitor tower, all 3 inhibs will be down, as this
they can keep going.
Maybe one of the most dominant performances we've seen here by NIP so far in their early run here in the LPL. Next tower's now the target, as it looks like they want to try to end the game here on this Baron buff push. Leave dashing forward once again with the Arcane Shift, forcing JiaQi down to 500 HP, as RNG currently are fish in a barrel to the might of Leave with these Mystic shots.
And they've got another minion wave. They got these 6 grubs. The ultimate does not land from milkyway.
JiaQi trying to land the stun onto Doinby, but not enough damage here for the Rise. Redemption comes out. Everybody on NAP is still well and healthy, but
wait a minute, wait.
He shuts down Naki right now, but Leave is still fully healthy. Tangyuan unable to find anything with the Emperor's Divide, and that should eventually be the game. Doinby doesn't fall. NIP standing strong in the base of Royal. Never give up. They will go undefeated here in the group stage and have made a statement here early in the LPL season.
JiaQi falls as the last member. NIP, so dominant, not to be unexpected with where we thought this game was going to be, but I think with the quality of some of these games, specifically Game 1 and some parts of Game 3, RNG can hopefully look towards Split 2 and maybe a surprise look in playoffs here, as we're still waiting for the results of IG versus FTX later on this week. Tough loss, especially in some of those games, but NIP head and shoulders look like the best team in this group, and I'm wondering what fan expectations are for this team, because this is, I think, the group where some people might put an asterisk and be like, cool, you got out against a bunch of teams that I don't think were willing to push you. And same could be said to that Group C group with BLG and TT. Some people might be saying, hey, look, got LNG in that team. I don't know if I really believe the results.
That was a tough LNG. I'll say that. But it's a good finish here for Ninjas in Pyjamas. They go undefeated, and as you mentioned, the question is, how do they fare against some of the other top teams in the LPL? We've seen them against the Invictus Gamings of the world. What do they look like as this group of 5 with Doinby against teams like BLG? Anyone's Legends has had a really good start to the season. Top Esports as well in that group as well. In addition to that, but they'll get to avoid some of the top teams early on. Anyone's Legends and JDG both winning their groups, so they'll get a start in the upper bracket, as will NIP.
So it's so funny because you look at all of the quote-unquote #1 seeds right now. The best record that can be achieved is BLG with a 9-0. So that matchup tomorrow versus TT is going to be very fun. And NIP will be ending their game with 9-1 game score, which is better than JDG, who ended 9-4, and just better than AL, who ended 9-2, thanks to their surprise loss in one of the games to Team WE. They just decided to do charity work for a game, and even had a Baron that got stolen from Set. Thank you, Flandra.
Yeah, it's all right. You know, the most important thing is that you end 3-0. You get that spot in the upper bracket. You get the rights to double elimination. And we'll see. There's still one of those spots left to be determined, as you mentioned, tomorrow, when it will be BLG taking on Thunder Talk. And we got a couple more series after that to wrap things up. Top Esports still has to play to make sure that they have a chance here in the group. And on the other side, we'll have the finishing up of Group D with IG taking on FPX.
I think that's the really important part. We kind of touched on it throughout the series a little bit, but this does not immediately lock out any of our last 3 teams. For FPX, if they find a surprise victory up against IG, an unexpected upset, there's a potential that any one of these bottom 3 teams could make it, and kind of means that IG need to lock in a little bit. I still expect that series to be in their favor, but Invictus has not been as impenetrable as we thought.
Yeah, and if we have some time to actually go through the before we get to the highlights, actually look at the standings of the groups real quick. If we can just do some napkin math about what the stakes are here for the rest of this group, it would be very interesting. The biggest thing, of course, is if IG just take care of business against FPX, they will be the second team advancing now with a 2-1 record compared to RNG's 1-2. It does the weird stuff happens when FPX actually wins this series somehow against IG. That leaves 3 teams in that circle of 1 and 2, with NIP being at the 3-0, and then it comes down to game score to be the tiebreaker.
Yeah, I'll let those guys do it when they do. I'm trying to see who was on that show. One of the last shows, second to last show of the season, at least for Split 1. It's gonna be Rude Dude and Yanni. Good. I can let those guys do stupid napkin math and prevent myself from having to do it on broadcast. You know, it's double it and give it to the next guy, basically. I'll let them handle that one.
The one thing I have determined is that if FPX 3-0 IG, they will actually make playoffs. I think that's their only path.
Beautiful. I love that. I love that FPX can go from being the worst team in the group to making the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's and off the back of IG losing, it would just be too sweet.
That'd be
it would just be.
for sure.
I would be very sad for Rookie, but he made this choice when he decided to sign up with another team with the Shy. So we have our group standings here, updated for some of the results here in Group D as well. NIP, like we said, were already locked, but with game differential and how close some of the series scores are down here, it is very likely that any 3 of these teams could potentially make it. Just we're looking at IG to kind of clean house on Saturday.
I'll have Yanni and Rude confirm this, but I'm pretty sure actually RNG is out. I don't think there's a way that they get in based off of game score, because if it's a 3-0 for FPX, that puts them at -2 and IG at -3. If FPX win 3-1, that puts IG at -2, and they would still get the tiebreaker, I believe, over both of them. So,
damn.
It's
sorry,
tough,
RNG.
Unfortunately.
It's been great. It's been tough, but look, we said it at the beginning of broadcast. I think it's been a narrative that we've kind of kept through for this team. These are one of our Split 2 teams. Not every squad can make it into playoffs. It's top 8, and I mean, for what it's worth, I think they showed some really good games for what it's worth, and not only this series, but I think their FPX series. IG was a little bit tougher, but they were even able to kind of play some spoiler there. I'm wondering what this team is going to look like with a bit more time and just, you know, the eventuality of things.
Yeah, I do think there's a lot of promising pieces. That last series is definitely going to leave a sour taste in the mouth of RNG fans. However, you got to think back to how they looked against FPX, took a game off of IG. Like, there's all these different things that you can look at as being highlights here for this RNG roster. Specifically the bot lane, I think. I think Niket coming out here, having a really solid game 1 performance at the very least, and looking like a very decisive playmaker in all 3 games here for Royal, even though it didn't end up the game results with wins on the board for them. I think that the bot lane specifically, as well as, you know, some of the other players for RNG are really good looking, really good talking points for them that we did not necessarily expect coming into the season.
Yep. And for NIP, I just want to see this team in playoffs. I want to see these guys play up against some of our better teams, to be fair. I know I was kind of giving the caveat for RNG, but now we need to see on the cutting room floor for NIP what it's like when you're playing against the top dogs, because as much as I want this team to be a top 4 contender, we send one team to first stand, and you still have BLG. I want to see BLG play against some of our other top teams because, again, I think their group is incredibly